Oh, hi there. Come on in. I got something to talk to you about. I want to talk about dividends. I think you both know a little bit about dividends because you've probably seen them on your brokerage summary sheets. And I want to tell you a little more about them. You know, when a company does a good job at running their business, they make a profit. And they have to decide how to use that profit, and some of it, most of it, usually goes back into trying to make the company grow by doing research or building new plants or expanding to other countries to make them bigger and even more profitable. However, a portion of that profit and earnings after they've paid their taxes is their choice, but is given to the owners. Now, if you own a share of stock, you're one of the owners. And so you can get that cash periodically. They might say, we do that once a year, we do it twice a year, we do it 4 times a year, or we don't do it regularly. We'll just tell you when we want to do it. So I'm going to give you a particular example, one that's of interest to you because you've gotten dividends from this company, and it's Procter & Gamble. So I have a sheet here for you to look at, and this will tell you that Procter & Gamble has people who own shares. The number of shares is 2,490,000,000 shares. That's a lot of shares. And each one of them gets whatever dividend they have declared. And for instance, the most recent dividend declared was $3.16 per share. That's for a total year, but it's paid in 4 parts quarterly. It turns out it's February and May and August and November, around the middle of the month. So if you add up all those payments, that is about $7.8 billion. Give you an idea how big these numbers are. The company with the most shares in the world is Apple, and it's more than the number at the top, not quite twice that big. The number at the bottom, about $8 billion, is the amount of business that Amazon did on Prime Day last year. Of all the people anywhere who bought anything on Amazon, it's about that much money that P&G is paying in dividends for 1 year. Now I have a graph to show you about how those are paid. So if you look here, you can see the stock prices of P&G for about the past 12 months. And these little D blocks in black at the bottom are showing that the dividend was paid here, and it was paid on this date, and it was paid on this date, it was paid on this date. And it doesn't matter what the price of the stock is, you get that dividend for each and every share that you own. So that sounds pretty good. It's about 79 cents, I think, we saw. And so you might ask yourself, why don't I just wait until we get close to the date that they're going to pay the dividend? We'll buy the stock, then we'll get that dividend. And then, well, as soon as we got the dividend, we'll sell it. Well, there are some reasons why. There are some rules. And the company says that there's a date in which your right to get the dividend expires. It's called the ex-div date, expiration of your dividend. It's often about a month ahead, and if you don't own it before that date, you don't get the dividend on this whatever you bought on that date or after it. Now, if there's another quarter goes by, another 3 months, and you have that, you'll get the dividend for that one. But you'll miss the one that you thought you were being kind of clever about. Here's an example. The ex-dividend date recently was July 23rd. Now, if you bought the stock on the 22nd It takes 2 days for that to get registered and officially recorded. So by the time it happens to be yours, it's too late to get the dividend that was just paid on August 17th. Whoever you bought it from, even though they don't have it anymore, they're entitled to that dividend because they had it at before that date where it expired. They were entitled to it. Another thing that happens is that when you get very close to the days that the dividend actually gets paid, often the price of the stock will drop by about that much, because within a couple of days you could still pull that game off, and you would get the dividend, and the stock would most likely go down about that much. But if you believe in the stock is good and it's growing, you're going to want to own it anyway, so that might not bother you at all. If you're buying a stock that only pays a dividend once a year, then you don't have as many opportunities to collect your dividend. So let me show you something. If you were going to compare two different investments and you thought that the dividend might be your key to deciding which one is better, there is a value which is not just the amount of dollars that the dividend is, but you have to divide that by the price of one share. The dividend dollars is for each share, and if the price of one of them is like $200 and the other one is $30, then your money is not producing as much on even if they were the same number, because you're paying a lot more to get the dividend if you have to pay a high price for the stock. So let me give you an example. The Procter & Gamble current dividend, when you divide it by the about current stock price, is a number like 2.33%. So if you could go to the bank and get a savings account that would give you 4%, that would give you more money, but then again, there wouldn't be any growth in the price of the money you have tied up in the savings account, but the stock might have gone up quite a bit. If you wanted to buy a different investment, you might have bought a dividend exchange traded fund, and the one DON had a dividend yield of 3.3, so almost 50% higher than P&G's stock dividend yield. However, there was a big dive when the pandemic hit, and DON, which is a collection of different companies, their value, the price of one share of that fund, went way down. So did P&G's, but not so much. And P&G came back a lot faster. People have to still use a lot of the products like toothpaste and paper towels and shampoo that Procter & Gamble makes. So even though DON had a higher dividend and a higher dividend yield, it wouldn't have been the same performance as having P&G stock and having it grow like it did. So you might ask yourself, why in the beginning does a company want to give out dividends anyway? If the stock goes down a little bit, in fact, maybe it would be smarter for the company to put all that dividend money, that almost $8 billion, into making the company grow. The rest of the earnings are going there. Maybe they could even get better. Well, kind of the answer is a lot of people want to have a reward in cash so they can do something with it, because otherwise you have to sell stock. And it might be up or it might be down, and you have to go through the rigmarole of doing it. Here you get cash. And if you owned a lot of shares, you might get enough cash to buy groceries and go get gas and a lot of things that you have regular expenses, and it gives you cash, and people like that. In fact, if they want, they could buy more P&G stock if they've got enough cash. Maybe they have to put some of their own with the dividend or save it up for a while. Or they could buy something completely different, a different investment, or something that they want and need for their home. So there's a reason why people might like to have the choice and freedom of taking some cash from their investments in the company, whether it's Procter and Gamble or whether it's an exchange traded fund or some other big company like Apple or Amazon. So that's the rationale. Now, there is something a little bit exciting, I think, about P&G stock I want to tell you about, and it has a connection to dividends. Here is a chart that's showing a long time in the history of P&G stock price. And you see it keeps going up, and then it sharply goes down, and then it goes up again, and then it goes down. And on this scale over here, on this end of it, you have to see it doesn't start at zero. It doesn't start at zero. So what happens is when the price of one share of the stock, in this case for P&G, gets high enough, sometimes the companies do something called, they have a stock split. And they give you, as the little numbers at the bottom say, 2 for 1. Each one of these cases, historically, was giving you a share of stock for every one you had. And so you ended up with twice as many. If you owned 100 shares, they gave you 100 more, and you now had 200. That sounds pretty good. What you have to understand is when they do that, the price of each share gets cut exactly in half. So now you're no richer at all. You have twice as many shares, the price is half as high. But what it means is more people may be able to participate and decide to buy into that company and own shares because the price of one share or 10 shares or 100 shares is half of what it used to be. And maybe they don't have that much money to invest and they'd like that idea. So it's kind of exciting to see that happen. It all happens, it's announced, and it costs the company a fair amount of time to actually have to execute a split and get all the records perfectly square so everyone anywhere who owns the stock knows and has proof that they have twice as many shares. The thing it ties into on dividends, just so you know, the dividend is half of what it was right before the split. So I bring it up because it's been a long time. As a matter of fact, on here are some dates. It's been a long time, 16 years since there was a stock split, and before that, they were much more frequent. But the price of the P&G stock is now getting high enough, it's close to, it's well over $130 a share, that it might happen. It doesn't really make anything especially better. It seems to usually be the case when a company's growing really well and the price has gone up and they don't think it's just going to go down, then it's probably going to go higher and it might get even a lot more higher, and they decide to do a stock split. So it's a good thing, but it's not critical and there's no tricks about what you do. So that's it for today. I hope you took adequate notes, and we'll be seeing you next time when we have a new topic. Ciao.